Welcome to the webinar from TREC, ICT for Agri-Food, with the topics, Will Robotics Replace Humans in the Greenhouse? I'm Colinda de Beer, and with me is Maartje Bakker. We will tell you more about this subject, and well, we'll just start now. A couple of people will probably come later, but well, when they arrive, they can join us and look at what we did before at the recording. So let's start with this webinar. My name is Colinda de Beer. I'm a business developer for Innovation Quarter, regional development agency for the south of Holland. I'm working on projects that have to do with technology and horticulture, trying to connect people and trying to make sure that technology is used more widely in horticulture. With me is Maartje Bakker of ADI.
I am an industrial designer. Hi, everybody. I work for Applied Drone Innovations since 6 months now, and I was completely new to the horticultural sector, and I fell in love with the industry and the people with it. I have a passion for sustainability, and that's what's driving me in my day-to-day work. So I will tell you something about Applied Drone Innovations later.
So today's topics. First, we will start with robotics. What are robots in our definition, and what do we think robots can do for us in horticulture? Then Maartje will show you a bit more about applied drone innovation, to tell more about what they are doing and how they're helping horticultural companies to work more efficiently. After that, we'll tell you something about RoboCrops, the event that will be held at the World Horti Center in April of this year. And we'll give you a couple of other exciting examples of robotics inside greenhouses. And at the end of the webinar, we will have time for questions. If you do have urgent questions, please put them in the chat windows, but otherwise we think it might be better to keep them until the end of the webinar.
So what do we consider a robot? Let's first look at that. Well, is R2-D2 a robot? You could consider that being a robot, or maybe WALL-E would fit the description. We are troubling with the presentation. Or this could be a robot used in agriculture. Or maybe even a vacuum machine can be considered a robot.
But the definition that we have for robotics in this event is a robot being a non-biological physical system that senses the world around it and acts on that world. So that gives you a bit more information about what we see as a robot in general. Looking at it more specific for horticulture. On the left side, you see the environment being, for example, a greenhouse. The system is sensing the environment using sensors like cameras or sound or other forms of sensors. With the information that is collected, the system thinks. So that gives you a model or an overview of, like, for example, a tomato that you want to pick. And the act component is the actual gripper in this case. And there you grip the tomato. It seems you're not able to see the presentation. I'm not sure what's happening here. We'll try to get it back. Not sure what happened. Are you able to see it now again, or?
Yeah, it's
okay,
working now.
Good. Yeah, sorry, we had something in front of our screen and we tried to click it away. Do you see the presentation now?
Yes, all right.
Good. Right. We'll go to the next slide.
So we've come a long way with robotics in general. As you can see in this video, so as you can see, we've come a long way from having robots that fall off at the least bump in the road, but look at us now and what Boston Dynamics is doing with their robots. So we've come a long way and we are able to do a lot more now.
But, well, saying that, there's a lot of people that say, okay, but you started developing picking robots, for example, in 1990 or 1992. There were already companies that started developing these robots. And until now, it has come till nothing. Well, yeah, we started developing almost 30 years ago. And it didn't lead to a fully functional economical viable robot, but the technology has been changing so much during the last couple of years that now we see that we can start doing things much faster. You can see there's an enormous speed up in the possibilities of AI, but also of the vision technology and of mechatronics. So I'm sure that in the next couple of years we will have, well, as we can already see, the first viable robots for inside the greenhouse. And ADI is one of the exciting companies, as far as I'm concerned, that is working with things like this. And Maartje will introduce you to the things they are doing at the moment.
Thank you, Colinda. I will start off with an example. Imagine standing in this huge football stadium with as the only task managing every single blade of grass in this football field with only a magnifying glass to do so. Now that's very overwhelming, and that is what most growers feel like these days, managing plants and hectares with outdated tools to do so. So at Applied Drone Innovations, we make products for growers like him, and like her. And what they all have in common is that they have huge greenhouses. Greenhouses have grown from small family-owned businesses to big mass production facilities. They've grown and grown, and they won't stop getting bigger. The scale of these greenhouses can be considered very, very good, because our global population is growing and we need the bigger scale. But this scale is also a problem because it's difficult to manage all these plants and it's difficult to work in these environments. The greenhouse is built for plants and not for humans, and that makes it hard to work in these humid and warm labor conditions. There's also a knowledge gap starting to form between the current growers and the new generation of growers. And that is why there's a labor crisis at the moment, where it's hard to get new employees, and more even so to keep them, because the job is so harsh and tough. And these big mass production facilities harbor a lot of diseases and pests. Diseases like Fusarium, which you can see here in an orchid, or different types of pests that are easily spread throughout such big facilities. So disease pest and continuous quality striving is making the growers' lives quite a bit more stressful. So how do we do that now? Well, this is me, and I'm standing in an orchid greenhouse, and all of these hectares filled with orchids need to be taken care of and checked for diseases. And as you can see, it's huge, and it's an incredibly difficult task to manage all of these plants. And all of these problems that I just talked about, all of these challenges boil down to these big sustainability challenges. We have an ongoing growth of population and more mouths to feed every single day. We need plants for our well-being, and that's why we need to innovate today. And that's why at Applied Drone Innovations we do what we do. We enable data-driven horticulture for a more sustainable industry. And we do that by taking 3 steps. Our solution consists of data collection, data interpretation, and data presentation. So in a way, that is the robot definition of sense, think, and act. So here you can see how we collect our data. We do that from an eye in the sky perspective, and that gives the grower a whole new way of looking at plants. And this way it's much easier to find diseases and find plants that are growing abnormally. We do that using drones, as you can see here, but also using rail systems, a monorail robot that hangs on the heating pipes, and that drives along those. Or we do it using a machine that's mobile throughout the greenhouse. So in the last year, in 2019, we've tried to discover as many possibilities with robotics and data in greenhouses as possible. So we've looked at lettuces from above. We've seen the difference in growth, that's huge, and tried to find a pattern in there. We've also looked at chrysanthemums and see if there is a uniformity of height. So we could measure every single flower and see if there are any abnormalities in there. We've also looked at yucca plants. And for yucca plants, it's very important to know how many shoots each plant has, because the more shoots it has, the more value it brings to the grower. So if you know how many shoots each plant has, you know how much money the inside of your greenhouse will bring you. So we started counting those and sending the information to the grower. We've also looked at bamboos and tried to see the leaf area index per table of bamboos to see how they are growing. And all of this got us to 2020, where we decided to take 2 paths for 2020 to focus on, because we want to be good at one thing and not be mediocre at a lot of things, and that's why we decided to focus. And we're focusing on orchids and on young stage crops. So that's what I'll tell you something more about today. So with the orchids, we are looking at Phalaenopsis orchids, and we are monitoring their growth. How they monitor the growth right now is by walking through the greenhouse and scouting for disease, as you can see here. So this is a very monotonous job. It's very tiring, and it's difficult for a human to do with good accuracy. What we provide the grower is a crop performance tool that helps with the crop planning, growth monitoring, can hold suppliers accountable, and can help with making links between climate control and crop performance. So we do this by collecting, interpreting, and presenting the data, and I'll take you through it step by step. So we collect the data using a drone, like we do here. We fly the drone through the greenhouse, and there's a camera hanging underneath that collects the data. So we do it as well with the rail system that's hanging on the heating pipes. And then we will analyze it using our artificial intelligence software, using machine learning, and that will recognize diseases and highlight those in a table. So we can see Fusarium, Erwinia, thrips, and we are starting to see caterpillars and early forms of spider mites. And this is all presented in a table such as this, where you can see every table inside the greenhouse. And you can see which tables contain diseased plants. And this way, it's much easier to manage your greenhouse by having this eye in the sky perspective of crop performance. The advantages of this system is that there is no alterations needed in your greenhouse. So we can come in and collect data without altering the infrastructure of your greenhouse. Then with these maps that we give the grower, they are 4 times faster scouting because they don't have to go through all of the green tables. It makes them a lot faster. But it doesn't just make them faster, it makes them better. So where first they would get 60% of the diseased plants out of the greenhouse, now they will take 98% out. And because they take out more of these infectious plants, the diseases have less chance of infecting other plants, which makes your greenhouse cleaner over time. And because you have less diseased plants in the end, you will have less waste, which will make your greenhouse greener and more sustainable, because you can use the resources in a more optimized way. And next to being more sustainable, it will help you with planning the crop rotation inside your greenhouse, so you know exactly when the plants are ready to move to the next room. So the second product that I want to talk about is the germination analysis box, and this is for young stage crops. And we are developing this together with Bakker plants. And this is something very excited I would like to talk to you about. So Bakker plants is a young stage vegetable grower. They also have young stage ornamental plants, and their greenhouse looks somewhat like this, where there are all sorts of trays on the floor with these very young germinated plants. And how they are taking care of these plants right now is that they are testing the germination rate of these plants. How many of the seeds are actually germinated, how many did not germinate, and different stages of germination. And they're doing that in 3 different ways. So they're walking around the greenhouse taking notes, or they sit down squatted next to a tray and they take notes, or they even do it for the really valuable seeds like tomatoes. They take 15 minutes per tray to count the germination. And this is quite susceptible for errors because it's very subjective to the person that's counting whether or not something is considered germinated or not, which gives the data a very subjective feel to it. So what we are trying to do is we are automating this germination analysis process. We are giving information about leaf area index, the germination count, the height of each plant, and because we are still developing this, there will probably be more aspects that we will be managing and monitoring, but those we will find out in the coming weeks. And again, here we are collecting, interpreting, and presenting the data. And we are collecting the data using this mobile machine. We call it the germination analysis box. That can be moved around the greenhouse in between those trays, and the trays can be put inside, a picture is taken, and then you can see the germination analysis count, height, and leaf area index, which will be sent to the ERP of the customer. So this is what we will see. And here we can see our software that's analyzing the image that we've taken. So you can see that a lot of these plants are germinated and some of them are considered not germinated. So this is very valuable information for the client. We will send this information to the ERP system so that it's in their system and they can look back in time and have a nice database. So there are several advantages of this method. First of all, it's a lot more accurate because you have taken out the human error that's just bound to happen. It's also a lot faster because you don't need to take 15 minutes per tray to count, but you can just put it in, basically push a button, and you have the results. Also, this is very factual data that you can hold your supplier accountable with. If a supplier says that there's a certain percentage of germination rate, and it turns out that it's not, now you have photographical evidence that to hold your supplier accountable with. But most of all, this is very important for the seed planning, and that's what this is going to be a great advantage for, because it's much more precise and accurate to plan your seeds with. So overall, the technology that we use is making the industry faster, it's getting the job done better, and it's making the sector a lot greener. So why are we at ADI the ones to do this job? Well, here you can see Tom, and Tom is our biologist, and he is the one making the product together with our software team. So we are bridging the gap between technology and biology. And that is why our product fits so well with the grower, because we really understand the grower and we speak the same language, while also having this high-tech, Tesla-like office where we have the real engineers. So this combination is really, really valuable, and I think that's what makes us the next big player in the horticultural industry. I would like to end with our latest video, and then I'm going to give the word to Colinda.
Today's farmers are dealing with many challenges. What would it look like if we could tackle these challenges and make greenhouses more efficient? Can you imagine? Having a perfect custom-made robotized solution for any greenhouse. An automated system for the collecting of valuable data. A system which detects diseases with the precision of a bee in the chase for nectar. What if we could analyze data with machine learning software? Do you see? It is getting smarter. And what if the farmer could easily get access to the results with all the information you need? That sounds pretty cool, right? This is already possible, and there is much more to come. By innovating like we do today and staying ahead of the newest technology, we will revolutionize the agriculture. ADI, join the revolution.
I'm sorry the sound is bad. This video can also be seen on YouTube or on our website. So if you are interested in watching the video with good sound, you can look it up there. And if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, I'd be happy to answer them.
Good. Let's go to the next part of this webinar, talking about robocrops. ADI, Applied Drone Innovation, and Maartje will be one of the speakers at the robocrops event. The robocrops event will be held at April 23 and 24 in World Horti Center in Naaldwijk and in RoboHouse in Delft. We're starting this event to try and accelerate the development of robotics for greenhouses. As I said before, we see a lot of possibilities at the moment with the new technology, but it can only be done with people working together. Like Maartje said, bringing technology and horticultural knowledge together. That is the way forward. And then I'm sure within the next 3, 4, 5 years, we will have real good economical viable business models for robots inside greenhouses. But to get there, looking at robocrops at the event, we are looking at robots that are working inside the greenhouse. So picking robots, we're talking to about 14 companies that are developing picking robots worldwide. There's scouting robots, there's robots measuring things inside the greenhouse, robots looking at the pests and diseases inside the greenhouses like ADI is also doing, and looking at things like germination, the quality inside the greenhouse. We're working in this project together with Innovation Quarter, World Horti Center, Delft Technical University, and RoboHouse. They're both based in Delft, and Greenport, West-Holland. And we are aiming to make this an event that will be done yearly. We have a Growers Day that will be on April the 23, where we will specifically aim our talks to the growers, where companies that develop solutions for them will show them and tell about what they're doing. On that day, we will also have a presentation on basic presentation on AI, because as we mentioned before, robots contain of mechatronics, the hardware and the software, the AI part. So we'll have an introduction into that as well. On the second day, April 24, we will have what we call a Tech Day. Also a good day for horticultural companies to come, but then it would be more like the R&D manager of a company instead of the business developer or the CEO of the company. There we will have talks from the technical companies, but also from universities and startups that are developing different things inside the greenhouse, but also in other fields, to give an idea about what is possible in other sectors. Besides that, we will have a hackathon. The hackathon will be open for students from the different technical universities and Wageningen University, and they will get a subject. It will be a picking robot challenge. We will tell them exactly what crop it will be, but they will be working on the development of a bit of actual gripping or AI technology. But the main thing that they will do is work out a program on how to work on the project in the next year. So they will be judged on how good their ideas about developing in the coming year, and also about what they are able to achieve in the 24 hours. At the end of the 24 hours, they will come to the World Horti Center, and there the final of all this will be. Well, we're talking, as I said, to the main players in the picking robot automation. You can see some of them here. Panasonic from Japan, Root AI from the USA, MeMotion from Israel, Octinian from Belgium, and we're talking to a lot of other companies that will probably be at the event and also be talking there. The idea is that we will show how far they are and what things they still need to adjust and have to work on. So that would be a real good overview for growers and technology companies to see what is available worldwide. It's already possible to pre-register for this event. We will be selecting, because we will only have about 275 places available on both days, and we really want to have a good mix of people there at the event. So right now you can already pre-register at the link below, and then after a couple of weeks we will let you know if you are able to join the meeting and can buy tickets for it. Well, the event is about technology, but it's not just technology, it's more than technology, and that's also the thing we were talking about in the title of our program, of our webinar here. Will the robots do the work of the humans? In this event, we will not just show the technology that has been developed, but we will also take a look at the other things that are needed to make sure that the robotics can be used inside greenhouses. We will look at maybe different ways to grow. The way we are growing now has been set up for people to do all the work, but when we're going to use harvest robots, well, we may need an all different technology and setup of our greenhouse. We may need new varieties to be developed. For example, in the previous slide, you saw Octinian, and I think they're pretty advanced with their picking of strawberries. but the type of strawberry that they can pick has a longer stalk, and that's exactly the type of strawberry that the supermarkets don't want because they don't look nice. So we will have to make changes there as well. It's not just that we get the right technology and then everything will be run smooth. Also, there's the thing about the people working there. First, we will have to show people that are working in the greenhouses right now that robots can help them and that they're not taking over their jobs. But for example, with picking robots, if a picking robot could pick 50 or 60% of the tomatoes, you need less people to pick the tomatoes that are a bit harder to reach maybe. And on the other hand, there will be new jobs like robot trainers, people that tell the robot how to work or do the maintenance on it. And the growers themselves and the people working in the greenhouse will have more time to do work on other things than the actual things that you have to do every day. So that is something that we're going to look into as well on this event. So if you want to come, do pre-register for this event. More information about the program will follow soon on the website. Then I will give you a couple of other examples. Maartje told you the things that Applied Drone Innovation is working on right now. I want to give you two more examples of companies working in the Netherlands, both also like Applied Drone Innovations, young tech companies. First, Gearbox Innovations. They are working on a system that's also inside the greenhouse, but it's a system that is not moving like the ADI system, but it's a system that is stationary. And with a system like this, you will look at different things than you will look at with, for example, the ADI system. Because if you're looking at the same plant all the time, you can see pictures like this. You can see that the plant itself is moving during the day or the night. You can see what the plant is growing like, what the size of the fruit is, what the size of the internodes are with the plants and how they are growing. You can see, for example, with an egg plant that the fruit during the day and during the night is getting bigger and smaller again. So this will give you information that will be very useful for you as a grower to make sure that you get the highest yield available with least amount of pesticides and other things needed. This is also already done by humans at the moment, but they only measure one plant maybe 1 time a week or 10 plants. With a system like this, you can get much more measurements. Just like here, the chrysanthemums, you can really look at the way they are growing, the growth rate. You can really look at it in a very good way. Look at the leaf area index here, how fast this is growing, and you can look at that also looking at, like, for example, the temperature in the greenhouse. The example you see here is looking at the flower buds of the chrysanthemum. That is some information that the growers normally do not use yet. They simply don't have it. But with a system like this, it will be available for them. Here you see something about the difficulties, because if you're looking at, for example, these roses, you can see with different light, with artificial light or with clouds, the roses themselves look very different. You could use something like this to decide when you need to cut the roses. But that is, well, there are some things that you still have to find out, looking at the technology side of this. Well, Gearbox Innovation will certainly also be there at the RoboCrops event. They're working on different systems, the real-time monitoring that you saw some pictures of just now. They also are working on a system that is digitally looking at the quality of the fruit, so after harvesting. Then another example is PATS drones, also a young company that was started a couple of years ago. Basically what I wanted to do is, they had mini drones, and what I wanted to do is get at mosquitoes that were in their bedroom. They were woken up by mosquitoes every night, and then they thought, hey, we have these drones and we're studying technologies. So let's use the drone to kill the mosquitoes. Well, that idea didn't work out totally, but they did get the idea for something else, and that was to use the system inside a greenhouse to do crop protection against certain types of moths. You can see the real small drone here flying inside the greenhouse in a gerbera crop, and they're testing at a number of growers right now. And what they are doing is automating the insect control with drones that look like bats. In horticulture, we do have a lot of biological control that we are using inside the greenhouse, but some insects like moths are very difficult to control biological. So if you do have these moths inside your greenhouse, you do have to use chemicals. While most of the time you can use the biological systems and don't have to spray any chemicals. But if you have to spray for like these moths or Diplogelia that they're working on, your whole system has to start from scratch again. So that is why a system like this can be very important in maintaining a biological crop control model. Yes, that is what they're doing, saving labor, improve the yields. Well, certainly spraying is not the most nice job inside a greenhouse. No grower likes it to do it, besides the fact that it's not good for the environment. So they do deliver insect control as a service, where they make sure that they install the system, that they control it, they maintain it, and that leaves the grower to do the things that are doing the best, and that is growing nice produce. Well, I think that's the main part of our presentation until now. Well, we have some time for questions, so we're interested to hear some of your observations and questions. So who wants to start?
Hello, I have a question. Can I ask you now?
Yes, Christian, hi. Yes?
So, I represent a startup, a software company. We are dealing with cattle farms, dairy farms. So, we are interested in using robots in this field. And I would be very interested in an economical part of the project. Can I have? So I would like to see the project budget, projects ends, goals. Can we get this kind of information? So I would like to see viable projects. So projects that worked and afterwards we will try to build our projects on the dairy farms.
So you
but
want
the economical part is very important for us. We cannot predict. So if a certain project can be implemented in farms.
Yeah, I think I can explain a little bit about the economical, like the financial situation at Applied Drone Innovations with the growers. So what we are experiencing is that, of course, the sector is quite, how do you say that? They keep to the things they know. Most of them, they like to see, growers like to see other growers implement something before they start implementing it themselves because they have a lot of contact together. So it's not always easy to start an innovative project. And that also has to do with costs. When the customer does not believe fully in the success of your project or your product, it's difficult to ask a high price. So you can start off doing some sort of a pilot. And what we've experienced is that we've been trying to sell a service kind of business model, so reoccurring monthly
subscription based, so monthly subscription.
Yeah, because ADI is in essence a software company, so we are trying to do a subscription based business model. But this is quite difficult because the growers are used to a one-off payment that they then write off in a couple of years. So we've kind of transformed our business model to fit the growers better. And what we see is that right now, technology might seem very expensive compared to human labor. But because the sector is growing so fast, and for example, in greenhouses, pest control is being more regulated, they're expecting to have more issues in greenhouses over the years. So having more issues will help our case in being able to sell technology. But it is always difficult to see how expensive is your technology and how expensive is the labor cost. So I think for your startup, that might be something to really dive into.
Okay, does I think you're in Holland now?
Yes, we are based in the Netherlands.
Does the government support such projects?
Maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Well, they support some of the technology development for companies like that are in our area, in the south of Holland area. We do have some possibilities to invest, like for example with Innovation Quarter in startups. We also have the possibilities for subsidized projects. But still the company needs to do most of the work. It's just like for starting that there are some grants available. But there's not really real big amounts of money. But there are amounts that will help companies start. Like for a startup, 20,000 euro for doing research in the viability of their business idea might still be a lot of money. And in the next phase, there are grants for working together with another company on R&D for around 250 to 350,000 euros. So that's the kind of things that we have available here in the Netherlands for companies that are based here.
Okay, this seems like a dialogue. You should answer the other questions. Yeah, I have a lot of questions, a lot of other questions, so maybe on email or something like that.
Yeah, that is good. That's good.
Thank you.
Are there any other people that have questions or observations about what we talked about? Do you recognize what we're telling about the possibilities here inside greenhouses?
Me again, so no other questions. So
yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask other questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So honestly speaking, so do you have any company that really can? I've been on Green Tech Amsterdam 2019, and I've seen some other artificial intelligence services providers, but most of them are financed. Most of the companies and the research is financed out of other businesses. So they build greenhouses and they sell technology, but do we have any viable working projects? So the kind of projects that have spent all the money the government received, and they spent all the money association have given them, and afterwards the market buys their services, and they are so they can live out of their own income. Do you have any example on that? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, we do have well, exactly the companies that we've been talking about and talking with today. Well, ADI is a startup basically. They're one of the younger companies, I would say, and they're still building up a portfolio. But they do not get an enormous amount of money from government. They've been mainly self-funded with some grants here and there, but they are trying to look at growers that doing some work for them and getting paid for that, but also looking for like gearbox innovations. Well, as Innovation Quarter, we invested in them, but that's more like a loan. And so they have to pay that back, and they didn't get a lot of big grants, or hardly any big grants. They had some small grants to start and to do some research and work together with other companies. So basically, I do not know of a lot of companies here, a lot of startups in this area that had a lot of money from government. But we do have some successful startups in this area, like ADI, like Gearbox Innovation, and like POTS. So, and there's others working in this field.
We have another big so in our field, cattle breeding. It's really hard. So we are a startup, but we have other services. So like accounting, so cattle management, and other services. And we would like to extend these services with artificial intelligence powered robots that they suggest and make decisions by their own in the farms. But it's really hard for us to show the business owners the benefits, the artificial intelligence, and the extra service we try to offer them. They don't see the economical part of this. So they say, okay, how much money will I save? How much? So how much money do I have to invest? How much money will I save? How much my business will grow out of this? So I don't know. I would really love to see how other companies deal with this. So how they convince their clients that the economical part is viable by after implementing this kind of projects.
Well, I think that's the difficult question also here, because sometimes you would say, hey, if we know how much money it saves them, let's, for example, split it, for the development company, 50% of what it saves them and 50% for the grower. And even those things are sometimes difficult to get to. So here in Holland, you usually see that the growers really need to see what you're doing, see what the advantage is. You give them a discount or let them pay a little bit for it, and then you do it again and again. And after maybe half a year or sometimes a year or a year and a half, they see, hey, this really is something that I want to have. And then only then they will really start paying for it. So I think even here it's difficult to get to that. Even if it seems, if you're just looking at the economics, to be straightforward, that it'll save them a lot of money. It's still difficult to get them to pay for that, and to. I think it's really showing them what it's worth, what's worth to them, and well, make sure that you have enough time to show that. But really working with the growers. Maartje,
I
think
agree.
you have the same.
I agree. I think it's very important to be patient, and that the relation you have with your customers is worth a lot. So invest a lot in really understanding the customer and building a relationship of trust with them. I see that here in the Netherlands, that the trust between companies in the horticultural sector is very important. That's what I love about it. And when you have this good relationship, it's a lot easier to build something together. And you can build this trust by really collaborating with your customer. So at ADI, we are collaborating with our customers. We are working on the projects together. We're really involving them in the development of our products. And that's helping to really have an active partner instead of just a customer. And that will, I think, in this sector will really help you to finally sell your product as well.
Yeah, and quite often you have to find the right person. Like for example, in horticulture, it's the actual grower inside the greenhouse or the greenhouse manager. That really, if you get him to be well, very eager to use your product, he will go to his boss and say, hey, we really have to invest in this. And then if he's eager, he may get his boss or the manager or the CEO of the company to invest in it. And if you work the other way around, then sometimes it doesn't work, because if an owner wants to invest into something and his grower or his manager doesn't see the advantage of it, then it's often very difficult to sell the product as well. So you have to find the right persons to work with, trust, taking your time, and I assume that will be the same in your country, and that I should assume that will be the same in agriculture, in the dairy farming field. So
yeah, I would agree that convince the person who's using your product, the user, that it's worth it by proving it to him or her. And then once you got those people excited, they will go to their superior, and to the superior you can talk about the financial things and the financial gain.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions left? Any other observations? If not, then I think we will close this webinar. There's always the possibility to send us an email. Come to RoboCrops. There you will see all the technology that we were talking about and more. You will also see that growers are looking for solutions and trying to find out what to invest their time and money in. You will see researchers working on different projects. So, well, I'd say do come to this meeting. Yeah, is there anything else that we have to say?
Thank you for your attention, and I'm going to be at the RoboCrops as well, and I would love to meet you there if you are interested, and I will be speaking there most likely. So and if you want to know anything else, our emails are both in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yep. Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.